Hi, today we're going to talk about angles in standard position. This is going to lead into our study of trigonometry. And throughout today's lesson, we're only going to use degrees. So if you're watching this video out of order, it's important to know that if you already know about radians, we can talk about angles in standard position with radians. I'm just not doing so in this video because in my class, we haven't discussed it yet. Let's take a look at what we define as a few things in our standard position. One is that the initial side is always the positive x-axis. So we're thinking about basically two rays that are meeting each other, and we're going to call one side the initial side right here, and it's always on the positive x-axis. So something like this right here. There's our positive x-axis. The initial ray is always over there. And then the terminal side is the side that is not the initial side. So here's our initial side. If we were to draw a terminal side, say here in quadrant 1, this is our terminal side. So this thing rotated, you kind of imagine it being right here, and it rotates counterclockwise in this instance. And this is our terminal side. And this is the initial side. So I just drew these two angles, or these two sides here, and imagine me forming that angle by rotating the terminal side counterclockwise there. When we rotate these things counterclockwise, we let that angle be positive then. So suppose this was 45 degrees, it would be a positive 45 degrees because we drew it counterclockwise. Now, on the other hand, had I drawn it clockwise, say I went from right here and I rotated that terminal side 45 degrees clockwise, then we would say it's a negative 45 degrees because we drew it clockwise. All right, so clockwise angles are negative, counterclockwise are going to be represented positive here. So one side is always on the positive x-axis. We call that the initial side. Let's look at some other examples here, and these are what we call quadrant angles. So quadrant angles are angles that have the terminal side on either the x or the y axis. So we've got 90 degrees here. Notice if, I haven't drawn these yet, we're going to draw them together. This is a positive 90, so we're going to start here with our initial side, and then the terminal side is going to land on the positive y-axis, so it is a quadrant angle, and this is 90 degrees. Here's 180 degrees, so we go 90 and then 180 right here. Draw these arrows as you do this, so that way I can see which way you are spinning that terminal side, whether it be clockwise or counterclockwise. Yes, I know that positive angles go counterclockwise, but I need to show me which way you're spinning it. And it would be even more important when we get into angles that are larger than 360. So 270 here, this is a positive one, so we go up to 90, and then to 180, and then finally we land right here at 270. It also makes it easy. Sometimes it's hard to see where those terminal initial sides are when they're in the quadrants. So there's 270. And then 720, notice, is larger than 360. So there we are. We got 90, 180, 270, 360. It's actually going around the circle twice. So here's our initial side. We're going to go around the circle one time. That would be 360 degree angle. And we're going to go around one more time, and we land at 720 degrees. It's positive because we spun around here counterclockwise. If you notice, there's no difference between 360 and 720 as far as where the terminal side is. It's what we call coterminal angles, and we'll get into that into the next video. I'm trying to keep these kind of short so you can watch them in small bits if you want. But I'm basically, if you'd not drawn these spirals here, I wouldn't be able to tell if you drew 360, that's 360, or if you spun it around once and then twice to land at 720 there. There's no difference unless you're showing me right here, there's one time around the circle, there's the second time, that puts me at 720. It does matter in your grade as far as when I'm grading this, that you show that it goes around twice to show me you're actually taking some ray and you're spinning it around two times. That's a lot different than spinning it around one time. So show me that by drawing those spirals there, okay? Those are our quadrant angles. Now we're going to take a look at just graphing a few different angles in general before we leave today. So I've got 6 here for you to try. If you want, you can pause the video and give them a try and then check your work. I've got -40, -310, 408, -90, 210, and then, well, we just did 720, so maybe I'll change this to something else. Let's try, I don't know, let's do 600. I didn't mean to give the same one there when I was planning it out, so we'll do 600 there. All right, I've taken that, you've given it a try, so you've paused the video, tried those 6 angles out. Now let's go back and see how you did. So the first one here says -40. So I'm going to draw this so that the terminal side is just, I know -45 is exactly halfway between these two. So I'm going to go a little bit less and say, boom, there's -40 degrees. The initial side on the positive x-axis, I only really need to draw the terminal side there. Next one, -310. I know that it is 50 degrees short of 360. So if I went all the way around, I'd be right there at 360. So I'm going to go 50 degrees short of that, which is almost at 45 degree mark right here, a positive 45. But I'm 50 degrees short, and I'm going to draw my arrows like that to show it went around this way, and I landed right here. This is -310. All right, positive 408, I'm going to be going, I know that this is 360 degrees right there. And then I'm 48 degrees past 360. So that's going to be a little bit past what would be 45 degrees coterminal to it. So there it is. And draw my arrows there to show it went around like that. -90 is going to be going this way, clockwise, because it's negative. It's going right up to that negative y-axis there. So that is -90. 210, I noticed that it's just past 180 by, what, 30 degrees. So we're going to go counterclockwise 30 degrees past 180 degrees, and that is positive 210. So it's helpful to know those quadrant angles. Notice that each of these, I'm referencing the quadrant angles. So I think 180, you know, it kind of gets my bearing straight, if you will, just kind of helping me figure out how far past I am, what quadrant I'm in. I know if it's bigger than 180, I'm going to be going past these first 2 quadrants, but it's less than 270, so it throws me in quadrant 3. Helps me decide what quadrant I'm in. Now, something like 600, I automatically recognize, hey, that's bigger than 360. So if I take 600 and I subtract 360 from it, I get 240. So there's 360 of it right there. I don't want to finish the arrow, but that's 360. I still need to go 240 degrees. So I'm going to go around. There's 180 more. And so I still need to go, what, 60 more degrees there. So subtract 180 from that. 60 degrees past that 180 mark is going to be about right there. So this is 600. All right. Hopefully that kind of cleared some things up for you if you did have some questions on angles in standard position. If you still have questions, let me know. We're getting ready to go over coterminal angles, and that's kind of what I alluded to here in some of this work. We're talking about -90 degrees is the same thing as 270 degrees. So we're going to talk about coterminal angles in the next video. We're also going to eventually throw some radian measure in that. So I'll have a video on radian measure that you can watch as well. And then we can continue on our study in trig as we get to the unit circle. Okay? Thanks for watching, and I hope you found this to be helpful.